The Longbox Crusade presents
Action Film Face-Off.
This episode, it's 2005 versus 2018.
Two Dolph Lundgren films enter.
One Jean-Claude Van Damme film leaves.
Oh, Jason's making his pick early.
That's right.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hit.
Welcome to Action Film Face-Off, the show where 2 random years are selected. My brother will bring an action film from one of the random years. I bring one from the other random year. Those 2 films do battle. We use a variety of criteria. A champion is crowned. I'm Jared Albrecht, the Death Probe. My co-host is my brother Jason Louise's Fall. We are both military combat vets who take our action seriously. Not too seriously, so let's have some fun. Jason, we have here a half-blind fire for me. I'd seen The Mechanic. I had not seen Blackwater. What about you?
Double blind for me. Hadn't seen either of these films. You know, I kind of slipped off of the old 80s greats, you know, those B-rated action films, and these slipped by me, and I'm glad I got a chance to go back and check them out.
That's right. These are 80s films that were made post-2000.
Yes.
Part of their glory, and we will talk about it, I'm quite certain. Anyway, back to you, Jason.
All right. Yes, indeed. We're going to score each of today's films on a scale of 1 to 10 in 5 categories. What are those categories? The overall spectacle, the best action scene, the story, the villain, and the hero. It's not in the order on the script, and it's still not in the order of what we're going to say. I've mixed it up. I double mixed it. But as you well know, there will be the deduction round where up to 10 points can be subtracted from this film's total for whatever we determine is a low point in the movie, and we'll do that at the end.
Thank you, Jason. And today we are joined by a sniper. I think a return sniper. I think the last time the sniper was here, we were out in the Wild Wild West. The sniper has 1 point to give in each category, so you can sway the scoring by up to 5 points. Let's meet our return sniper for this episode. It is Crusaders Club member and general a nice guy because he's an Auburn fan. And we are the nicest of guys. It is Rob Morgan. Welcome back, Rob.
Gentlemen, greetings and salutations. Good to be back with you.
Man, you know you're always welcome here. And you get to answer a new question because you're a return guest. I need to know your 3 favorite Dolph Lundgren films since we are having ourselves a Dolph Lundgren kind of episode.
So full confession, I started to do a bit here because he's in several movies where he's barely in it. So I started
like A View to a Kill.
Yeah, I started to be like, well, there's Hail Caesar, a Coen Brothers classic, View to a Kill. And I'll do 3 real movies. I mean, Rocky IV, obvious choice is obvious.
Nice, yeah.
I must break you.
Probably go with the first Universal Soldier.
Yes, correct.
You know, not something I watch.
That's the Spirit Soldier.
Not something I watch over and over, but I, definitely enjoyed that back in the day. And then looking through the filmography, I had one that I had forgotten about, and I was like, not only am I going to put this in my top 3, but I need to watch this again. It's Creed 2.
Nice,
that was
yeah.
a great movie.
Yes.
You must break you.
And he was very good in it. So, yeah, I've got no problem coming up with 3 there.
No, those are great picks, man. Nothing wrong with that. Good answers. And very succinct and well prepared. I like that. I need you to put a phone call into one MVP Captivating Kathy Bright.
Okay. Yeah, and I only did 3.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, now before our 2 films enter the Videodome arena, we are thrilled to kick off this episode with special shout-outs to our Crusaders Club members, of which there are now 50. So Delvin and I are going to owe you guys a little something shortly here. Thank you for helping us reach 50, all of those members, which includes Rob. These are the fine folks who have joined our crusade. They enjoy early access to special long box episodes. They're going to get the bonus review. Delvin and I are going to review the 1980 Flash Gordon just for you guys because you got us to 50. So we'll be on the lookout for that special episode in the coming, I'd say, 4 to 8 weeks. I'm sure we'll get it done. These are the folks reaping these benefits and giving so much appreciated support to the show.
Alan W. Wright.
Angelica Wolf.
Oh, Auburn Elvis.
Bill Beer.
Billy D.
Bradley Dello.
Braxton Underwood.
Apparently, Sissy Spacek is a
Yeah, we enjoy
Longbox
Sissy
Crusade
Spacek.
supporter.
I love it. Clinton Robinson,
Captain Entropy,
Clark Westfield,
Dave Collins,
Battle wagon.
Eric Hodges,
Eric Porter,
Ezra Gallo,
Gary V,
Gene Hendricks,
George Meal,
Gerald Green,
Heinz K,
Jason Keene,
Jason Lady,
Jeff Polyer,
Jeremy L.,
Jim Jarman, Jim Jarman, Jim Jarman, Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
Jim Neal,
Joe Man Conan,
Joe Thomas,
John Watson, Elementary,
Josh Strickland, Slackers,
Candace Ward,
Captivating Kathy Bright,
Matt and Lizzie Passo,
Mark Ross,
Maxwell Traver,
Michael Minton,
Miranda W,
P.D. Devins,
Paul Hicks,
Rick from Jeff and Rick Present,
Ronald Easterday,
Rob Morgan. Meow, 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 meow.
I've heard of him. Tall fella, right?
Yes, tall guy.
Samantha Maney,
Scon Urbanski,
Spidey 67,
Spreadsheet, you know we're still counting on you,
Steve Cronin,
Tim Price.
Tony Pennington,
and Toronto Cop.
There we go. I haven't heard from Derek in a while. That's our boy Derek. Give us a shout out, Derek. We miss you.
yeah, Derek,
If we miss anyone on the list, we apologize. Keep in mind we record these episodes well in advance of release. The recent edition, we'll add you soon, but no worries. You can listen to We Missed You by sending an email to contact@longboxcrusade.com, and we will get it all straightened out. And if you're asking yourself, how do I get it on this Crusaders Club? How do I get us on the path to 60 club members? It's simple. Patreon.com/longboxcrusade. You can get in for as little as $1 a month. We encourage you to check it out. Now, update, I have heard that as of in October somewhere, if you do that via the iPhone, they're going to take like a 30% cut. I don't know if it cuts on our end or if they take the extra money from you people or shenanigans. Just go to the website, go via the website, and you'll be just fine. There won't be any shenanigans. But hey, if you want to do it through the iPhone version, every bit matters to us and we appreciate it.
I believe the people that already signed up through the iPhone app are good. It's just new subscriptions coming through the iPhone app. So just go to the website.
Appreciate that clarification, Rob.
this sounds communist to me. Does it sound communist to you?
Trey, it has the stink of Mother Russia.
It does have a stink of Mother Russia.
We're kids from the 80s, folks. If you're a Russian listener, we love you. We appreciate you. I'm sorry for our 80s-ness.
Well, speaking of Russia, it's time to get back to the combat, learn a bit about the film Gladiators, about the battle for your pleasure. We're tired of talking. Let's make ourselves periscope depth and full speed ahead.
Oh, I see what you did there. This episode, I was assigned the year of 2005, and I have selected The Mechanik, also known as The Russian Specialist, but I think its original title was The Mechanik. Not to be confused with we did the Jason Statham Mechanic.
Yes,
right?
we did. Yeah.
And that one ends with a C. This one ends with a K. What year did the randomizer select for you, Jason?
Well, I got 2018 and put into our Videodome arena Blackwater.
Somebody's have to clean that water up. That's the title of the. Okay.
That's right.
Well, that's a fine matchup, folks. And you know what? It's in the script that I say that, but this is a fine match. This was a lot of fun. Anyway, it's important to point out that this isn't Jared versus Jason. We had to select from our assigned year. I might like his better than mine or vice versa. Honestly, I haven't looked at my own scores close enough to tell. I like them both. But we're going to be discussing some beloved action films, and we're going to come to a consensus on which one is this episode's champion. Where do we see it, Jason? I had both of these residing firmly on my Plex server because I am a Dolph Lundgren homer from way back. What about you? How did you find these?
I watched them both on Amazon Prime.
How about you, Rob? Where'd you watch these films?
Same thing. When I got the assignment, I looked them up on Just Watch, and both of them were on Amazon Prime. So that made it quite easy to partake.
Okay, free for Prime folks, or like $2.99, or
Both were free for me.
Yeah, they were just, you got to pay for a Prime subscription, but yeah, they were just part of the subscription.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
And they got the
And I think they're still on there. It's funny, I watched these both probably within a week, and now all of my recommendations on Amazon Prime are, they think I'm just,
They think you're me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren all the way across when you go through it.
It's the best
Like,
life,
other
Rob.
stuff, y'all.
It's the best life. Oh, it's hilarious. All right, folks. here's your spoiler warning. All right. I'm going to play a musical bit here from our good friend Joe November. And on the end of it, spoilers are going to run rampant. So if you're, needing those plot points for your Dolph Lundgren and JCVD action films, pause here, go watch them, and meet us on the other side of the musical break. All right, let me jump in with some quick info on 2005's The Mechanic.
Russian Special Forces. Moved to America 7 years ago. Illegally. Mr. Tarenko, we're willing to offer you $500,000.
I need to find her and bring her back to me.
I'm a mechanic. I fix cars.
We know who he is.
Yeah? But did you know he's a total lunatic?
For Christ's sake, take whatever you want, do whatever you want. I'm going to bed.
Trying to take you home. Get your gun.
Get your hands up, buddy! Call it death.
What's the plan? Kill them all.
You can't cut me anymore.
Cast and crew is as follows. It stars Dolph Lundgren and Ben Cross. It's directed by Dolph Lundgren. I think Dolph Lundgren also wrote it. This is a Dolph Lundgren vehicle, folks. And your synopsis goes a little something like this. Nikolai was a Russian special ops soldier who did his combat tours, and now he works on cars. Until Russian gangster Sasha Popov kills his entire family when nefarious dealings go wrong. So Nikolai dusts off those Spetsnaz skills and takes his revenge. And that's like the first 10 minutes of the movie. After that, Nikolai was a Russian special ops soldier who did his combat tours, and now he works on cars. Until Russian gangster Sasha Popov kidnaps the daughter of a wealthy American woman. You see, Popov survived the bullet to the face at the beginning of the movie, so Nikolai dusts off those Spetsnaz skills and takes his revenge again. Here's your trivia. When Dolph Lundgren approached New Image Films with the wish of directing a second movie, New Image agreed as long as two rules were followed. Lundgren must play the leading man, and the movie must incorporate locations under the ownership of New Image. So the second rule meant that Lundgren had to write the entire script based completely on the locations given to him. And with those parameters, I think he did pretty good.
Agreed.
All right. In the beginning of the movie, the bad guys pull into the village. The license plate says LOH in Cyrillic. Loosely translated, that means in Russian. And finally, when it comes to Dolph Lundgren action films, you know they put in the time and the effort. This film was shot in 32 days.
All right. And now I will give you the rundown on 2018's Blackwater.
You know how this works, so I'll keep it simple. You're an enemy combatant and will not be granted any rights.
This won't go anywhere.
Welcome to hell.
Lock down this boat right away.
The man's a highly decorated officer and a trained killer. He's been taught to adapt, improvise.
Just find him.
I need you to tell me what is going on right now.
Someone is setting me up. It's time to level the playing field. I believe we should get you one of these.
I knew I liked you. Let's do this.
In the old days, it was just red wire, blue wire.
It starred Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren, and it was directed by Pasha Patricky. And Jared, I appreciate it. You started off on the synopsis and just said, Die Hard on a submarine. We could have stopped there, but I expanded a little bit. I said, Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Wheeler, a grizzled special agent sent to recover a thingamajig that does something important. It doesn't matter what it is. His boss betrays him, and he's sentenced to imprisonment in a CIA black site. What makes this one special is that it's a retrofitted nuclear sub that keeps the prisoners deep under the Atlantic waters. Wheeler is screwed. There's no way. Wait. Who's that in the cell next to him? Why, it's none other than Dolph Lundgren as Marco. Oh, it's on now. Die Hard on a sub, son.
Yes.
All right. And the trivia goes a little something like this. Dolph Lundgren has less than 13 minutes of film time on this movie. So let that sink in, because he has big
that's
impact.
like a pun, let that sink in. But like his presence makes it feel like he was on screen more than 13 minutes.
That's what I thought too. The film was originally conceived to star Mickey Rourke and Nicolas Cage. And the ship's interiors, I thought you would get a kick out of this one, Jared, were filmed on the USS Alabama.
Oh, as seen on Crimson Tide?
I think so.
Which is a terrible title, but a good movie.
And didn't they film some of Under Siege on there too?
That sounds right. I'm prepared to believe you.
All right. I'm going to say it with authority. Yeah, they filmed some of Under Siege on there too.
Yeah, I remember that.
And now that we have the basics on today's contestants.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Test your might.
let's get ready to rumble!
Fight.
It's a street fight.
Yes, let's mix it up. Let's play some match game. 2 films, 5 categories. Jason and I could match up to 10 times possible. Place your bets. How many times out of 10 are we going to match? Rob, would you like to give a live guess here on the show? If you match perfectly, you win, respect.
5.
Oh, he's going right down the middle. All right, yeah. I got you. Rob's at a 5. All right, speaking of scores, just a reminder how we do it here on the show. It's a 1 to 10. 5, that's right down the middle. That's like, it's pretty good. You'd see it on a decent made-for-TV movie back in 1987. You know, you're watching TV and they're like, oh, tonight's ABC special movie. And it's pretty good. So that's a 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got a nice little leaked film going there. 4, 3, 2, 1. You got things to work on. With all that said, let's get into round 1.
You gotta ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Round 1 is the story. How engaging or original is the story? We will start in 2005 with The Mechanic, which I believe we learned was written by Mr. Dolph Lundgren. Rob, you get to go first. Thoughts on the story of The Mechanik?
Yeah, it's amusing, as previously mentioned, or because I guess we could say previously on Action Film Face Off. When I was on, we had a Western taking on the movie Taken. Real similar. It's the same story. It's not his daughter. It's just, they hire him to find her, but it's the same story as Taken.
Yeah.
But this predates Taken, but, neither one of them are exactly original. But, it's, I would say it's kind of right down the middle. It's a well-worn and well-used plot device for this type of movie.
I wholeheartedly agree. This is one of those ones sometimes we talk about, like in Taken. It's not original, but it's how well do you execute at this point?
Exactly.
And let's find out what Jason thinks.
Yeah, I agree with Rob. It definitely had a Western feel to it, right up to the final battle scene where it looked like a Western shootout, and it's in Russia, but it's just really cool with that Western vibe. There's a lot that I liked about this one. The pace was a little slow in some places, but the scenery was very beautiful. And, the story, it grabbed you right out of the beginning. The tragedy of losing his wife and son, him trying to rebuild a life in America, coming to America, being somewhat successful, then getting approached to come rescue this daughter that he doesn't even know. And he decides to do it after he finds out that the person that he thought he had taken revenge on was still alive. That fire is still burning within him. And as he goes through his mission, he starts to learn to care about other things and remembers connections he had with other people, which I thought was just a really nice element to what could have been a very bland action movie. There was a lot of weight and gravitas and emotion in there. So I liked it.
I agree with what you guys both said. I think my favorite part of the story that I may not have necessarily seen a ton of times before, and no examples are coming to mind right now. I did like that whole setup for revenge, and like he does it in 10 minutes, and I was like, well, what are we gonna do?
What happens now? I guess he's gonna fix cars.
Yeah, okay. And I was like, oh, this dude straight up survived getting shot in the face. And that also makes me laugh too, because I'm like, he got shot in the face, and he like on death's door, and he wakes up, and he's like, I'm gonna go right back to what I was doing. Like, what?
I'm gonna confess, this is not exactly a high budget movie, and after he shoots him, the shot kind of lingers on the quote unquote dead body, and the guy's eyes opened. And I was like, did they just make a really bad editing error there? But no, he was actually alive after getting shot in the face.
Hey, who knew? But I like that little gimmick. But cool. All right. Well, let's shift gears and go into 2018 with some Black Water. And let's go back to Rob. What did you think of the story of Blackwater 2018?
Again, I mean, you've already described it. It's Die Hard on a submarine. So, again, nothing totally original, but I, again, thought, especially for a pretty sure direct to probably a shiny plastic disc at that point, direct to video, it was very well executed. I enjoyed that movie a lot more than I thought. Just spoiler alert, if this one comes down to the sniper scores, it's going to be real one-sided.
Oh, I guess we're what's going on there? That's cool. Yeah, both of these movies, and I know it's Jason's turn to talk, but like I made a joke about it earlier, but I sincerely believe both of these movies are 80s movies that were filmed.
Oh, yeah. Both of the, there's no mid-budget movies anymore in the theaters. Now they go straight to Netflix or Amazon Prime, whatever the streaming is. But these are the kind of movies that would have been mid to low budget, released in theaters, and made a modest amount of money, but enough to cover their budget back in the late 80s, early 90s. They just don't make these movies anymore for theatrical release.
Yeah, it kind of makes me sad. But before I get too sad, you know who always lifts me up? It's Jason. Jason, what did you think of the story of Blackwater?
Well, like I said, it was Die Hard on a submarine, and when I took a little peek at the rating scale on Rotten Tomatoes, I was like, uh-oh.
But you got to remember, all those critics, they weren't alive in the 80s.
Right. And I agree with Rob. I think they were harsh on this film. I thought there were some really clever elements. I thought the characters were used really well. There was a lot of tension throughout, tons of action. Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in the hero part, but he showed his age. He played his age pretty well. He was relying a lot on his experience and his wisdom when he was in physical fights. I mean, he was winded, he was tired, he was hurt, he was vulnerable, not like we used to see him in the 80s and 90s films. So I thought it was really well-paced and a lot of fun.
Wholeheartedly agree. I don't have a lot of complaints about the story. I mean, my favorite element of the story is the almost shark in the water of Marco. Like, it's a lot of fun to watch Van Damme do Van Damme things, but it's like so cool to see them together again because they've done a few of those Universal Soldier movies together. Really great duo. I love it when they're duoed up.
5 movies together. That was another trivia that didn't make the thing. Okay. Yeah, several Universal Soldiers and one of the Expendables.
Yes, correct. Yeah, my favorite element of the story is just him being in that cage, and you're just like, when is he getting out? I need Dolph Lundgren to get out of his cell and it's great when he does. So that to me is like the best driver of the movie. But I will say this. I just want to go on record to say this before we do our final scores. Van Damme is now like, I don't know, 6 for 6 or something like that for me. I've just recently sort of gotten into his post, blooming age. Like I'd say he kind of faded out around Knockoff and Double Team. Like that's kind of the end of Van Damme in the theater. And I've watched about 6 of his straight-to-video movies, and they've all been pretty good. This guy knows how to select, like, he knows who he is, and he knows what projects to pick. That's what I've noticed. Anyways, that's just Jared's soapbox. Let's score these things. Jason, let's double back to The Mechanic of 2005, a.k.a. The Russian Specialist. On a scale of 1 to 10, you gave the story
a 7. I thought it was very solid. Like I said, it had a lot more weight to it than I would have guessed before I watched it.
Match game number 1. I also scored it a 7. Let's shift gears to Black Water 2018. 1 to 10.
I gave that one a little lower. I gave that one a 6. I mean, it is basically another Die Hard trope. Not much to it other than let's have a lot of fun on a submarine. And it was fun, so I ended up with a 6 for that one.
I also have that one at a 7. It did have an element that I liked, which was the quote-unquote plot twist, which was funny because at the beginning, when he's with the girl at the hotel and the guy kills her in the parking lot, jokingly, I said, oh, they're never really dead if you don't see him get shot, right? And then the plot twist comes and she comes back and I was like, oh, holy crap, I was right. But it was enough to surprise me, so I left it at a 7. Plus, I love that Dolph Lundgren sort of shark in the water element. But enough from me. Let's get to Rob. He's got 1 bullet to give. Which movie did you like the story better, Mechanic or Blackwater?
This one's tough, but I think I'm actually going to give this one to The Mechanic. Story-wise, we talked about it's just very similar to Taken. The other one's Die Hard on a Submarine, but this did predate Taken. So this is not just another knockoff of Taken that happened later. I'm right about that, right? The release year on this is pre-Taken, isn't it? I hope I'm not. Because Taken was 2009, and this is before that, right?
They both release in 2008. So
okay. Anyway, but as far as originality of the story, this one probably had a little more. I don't know. Once realizing that this didn't come several years, that this was not Dolph Lundgren making his take, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's fine. So I'm going to put the cyber bullet to The Mechanic on this one.
Nice. All right, that's it for round 1.
Don't force me to fight, because you won't like my way of fighting.
Well, that means it's my turn to take on round 2. And in round 2, we're going to talk about the hero. How cool is the hero or the team of heroes in one of our films, or the assembly of heroes that comes together at the end of The Mechanic? We'll talk about the whole lot of them. And we're going to start with Rob on The Mechanic. What are your thoughts?
All right, this is the one where I may get in trouble. So, like you said, Dolph Lundgren got the story by credit on this movie. He directed this movie. I can't remember if he had any kind of producer credit or EP or anything like that. There were large portions of this movie that I just felt like he would rather have been anywhere else. He was kind of wooden in this one. I don't know that I'm going to go as far as to say he wasn't good in it, but especially for a movie that he was so intimately involved in behind the scenes, I was not all that impressed with his performance in this picture.
I kind of agree with you. I didn't think he did poorly, but his range wasn't there, particularly when you compare him to his partner, the former SAS soldier in there. That dude, in my opinion, carried the film. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah,
and the team, the survivors of the assault team that were with him, I thought did a really stand-up job too. So he had a good ensemble around him, but I agree. Maybe he was just overworked doing the directing, the writing, and the acting. I don't know. Jared, what do you think?
I will never say an unkind word about Dolph Lundgren, but I think he was trying to be Clint Eastwood from the Man with No Name trilogy a little bit. I think we talked to there was some clear inspiration of Westerns, especially in the end. And I think he wanted to play it that way. I think he wanted to be that real stoic cowboy in a way. And maybe he overplayed the stoicism. But overall, I thought he did rather well, especially with all the burdens that he did have. And I enjoyed watching him. But he was more fun to watch in what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah. No, I know.
I mean, I'm always going to bounce his performances off the original Universal Soldier. He owns that movie top to bottom. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think he steals the show in The Expendables, too.
Oh, yeah, he's quite good.
Anyway, but let's talk about Blackwater. Rob, what are your thoughts there with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren? What do you think?
You hit on some of it earlier, Jason. I was really impressed with Van Damme in this movie because he was not, the superhero. He played his age, he, like you said, he kind of got his ass kicked a couple of times, as I recall. And, it was not just the unstoppable martial arts whirling dervish going through the submarine. I thought he was fantastic in this movie. And then, if you want to talk about the ensemble around him, obviously Dolph Lundgren, we can talk about completely opposite. He didn't have a lot of screen time, but he seemed to be enjoying himself immensely in this picture. And then was it Cassie was the young lady that was Van Damme sort of actually becomes his partner at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
She was great. It's obviously a completely different kind of movie. And again, we're talking about direct to video stuff, but I'm pretty sure it had a higher budget. And so, the production values and everything else we'll talk about later were much better on this one. But Van Damme as the lead, and then Dolph as the break glass in case of emergency was great. I mean, how great was the moment when they let him out of the cell?
Yes.
Van Damme, he gave him a gun, right? And Lundgren said, I knew I liked you, and winked at him. How great was that? That was just fantastic.
So good.
Especially since, I remember, I may be conflating this with something else, but don't I recall that, on that original Universal Soldier, the behind the scenes rumors were that they were not exactly big pals at the time. And so for them to have apparently, kind of repaired that, and that moment just, kind of was a meta thing to me. And they said, I knew I liked you, and gave him that wink. That was just fantastic.
Yeah, I think that chemistry really showed. And like we talked about, for only about 13 minutes of film time, man, Dolph Lundgren made the most out of every second. I'm with you guys. I was just waiting when he gets out of that cage, it's going to be on. And I was not disappointed. It was worth the price of admission. What do you think, Jared?
Oh, same. It's already a very solid Van Damme movie, and then it's absolutely elevated by Dolph Lundgren. And the Cassie character, she was also very good. But yeah, it's a good batch of heroes. It's fun to watch, and they play it to where it's fun and it's tense, and you're rooting for them. And yeah, there's a lot to like here. My score will reflect it.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Cassie's former partner, that young man, but we all knew he wasn't going to last long.
It was not going to look good for him, yeah.
Right. There wasn't enough room for all three of them.
Yeah. Just put the Star Trek red shirt on.
Was going to stay with Van Damme, so.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and score them. Let's get them in the books. Jared, what are you going to give the score for the hero for the Mechanic?
As much as I hate to say it, I'd probably give Lundgren a 6, but as you mentioned, Jason, I think Ben Cross really elevated and I'm going to bump it to a 7. I think his ensemble lifted him up a little bit. Not that I'll ever say an unkind word about Dolph Lundgren, but a 7.
I'm right there with you. Same reasons. I thought Dolph was probably about a 6, and Ben lifts it up to a 7. I really like that scene where he has to shoot that guy on the balcony. It takes all of his courage, and he can't even look at the guy when he pulls that trigger. That was fantastic acting right there. So, all right. We got 7 for the Mechanic. What about Blackwater? I feel we're going to go a little higher.
Obviously, yeah. You got Van Damme and Dolph together again, and with that much fun, 8.
Match game again. Match game number 3. All the same reasons. Double your pleasure, double your fun. You got Van Damme and you got Lundgren. There we go. Well, what about the sniper bullet, Rob? Where's it going?
It's to Van Damme and Dolph and Cassie. Yeah, easily Blackwater on this one.
All right. So let it be written. So let it be done. Back to you, Jared.
That must mean it's time for round 3. Round 3 is the villain. How menacing or entertaining is your villain? I like to say how memorable. When I think back on these movies, how am I going to remember these villains? We will start again with the Mechanic 2005, but we'll let Jason talk first this time. Jason, talk to me about the villainy of the Mechanic with a K.
Well, on the surface, he's just kind of your standard drug dealer, sex dealer, Russian thug. But I got to give it to him, man. The guy carried some sleazy charm throughout that movie. I guess that's the way I'll put it. Just he kind of sleaze, and you disliked him, but you had to have some mad respect for him because, like I said, my boy got shot in the face, bandaged up, stitched up, got right back in the game.
Right back on Monday morning.
Took a snort of that devil's dandruff and was right back into the business. And that final battle scene with he and his crew going up against Dolph and his crew, that was pretty intense fight. The guy was, not to be taken lightly. He wasn't a powder puff, that's for sure. So he'll get a decent score from me.
All right, Rob, what do you think? What do you got to add to Jason's thoughts?
Yeah, it's fine. He didn't chew scenery or anything like that. It didn't overplay it, but it was fine is the best way I can say it, I think.
He's not Alan Rickman,
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's true.
Nothing particularly memorable about the villain or the performance. He's sort of like you said, a cardboard cutout of a Russian mafia drug dealer, whatever he was supposed to be. Sort of like Dolph Lundgren. Not terrible, but just not great either. Just mid, I suppose, would be the best way to say it.
All right. I might be hinting at my score a little bit, but I raised him a little because I'd seen the movie before. And when I went to rewatch it, maybe 2 years ago, when I went to rewatch it, I remembered the villain. And I was like, how memorable is your villain? I was like, I remember this guy. I like a real scummy guy that has a little bit of scruple. I like the scene where they brought that girl in. That dude brought that girl in, and then he was like, okay, yeah, or whatever. And then he excused everybody, and he went to the guy that brought her in, and he beat the crap out of him. He was like, why in the world would you bring her in? Clearly doped up and looking rough. Like, do your job. I was like, man, this guy takes pride in the quality of his terrible ventures.
Yep. In the diplomacy, which he did it. He's like,
yeah,
I'll take,
criticize in private.
Yeah.
He stabbed the dude through the hand.
That was some heavy criticism. He laid a heavy hand on that guy.
Yeah, I kind of liked Sasha as much as you can like a guy like Sasha. Well, the actor who played it. But anyways, let us shift gears to Blackwater. Kind of smatterings of villainy everywhere you look in Blackwater. But Jason, what do you got?
Well, I kind of knew the formula. We talked a little bit about it in the story aspect of it. So I kind of figured he was going to get betrayed by his buddy mentor. But I don't remember the name of the actor, but I like that actor and how he played that role.
Where you've seen him before?
I know I have seen him before, but I couldn't remember.
It was driving me nuts, so I looked it up on IMDb when I was watching it. He played the Sandman in Death Warrant.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Death Warrant. So I was like, oh, it's that guy. Yeah, and I remember him popping up as a pretty tough guy in the Bruce Willis movie Last Man Standing. Anyway, he shows up from time. I'm sorry, Jason. I didn't mean to derail you. I was so excited.
That was helpful. That was helpful. I liked him. I liked how he could kind of switch on that charm and the charisma when he was trying to fool the captain and the crew on the bridge. So the guy played a little bit of menace and just a little bit of kind of a silver-tongued devil. And
you know what? I think I may have misspoke. The Sandman guy was his other friend. That's the guy you're talking about. I think didn't he kill his other friend?
Yeah, I think so.
There's like two guys. You're like, which one of these is the scumbag, right? Which one of these guys?
Well, and then you have the guys that were running the ship or the prison part of the ship. And they
also scumbags.
Yeah, they just were whoever was paying them the most at the time. So there's the whole there's a kind of a complicated set of deals and arrangements that were being
scumbaggery.
Yeah. So it was interesting. And I liked it. I gave it a pretty decent score.
I hear you. There's just a lot of scumbags in the movie. None too particularly memorable. I know I got to go to Rob on this, but I think what helped to add a dynamic to it was that there was actual naval personnel on the ship that were like, they were just there to drive the ship, right? And anyways, let me go to Rob. What did you think about the smattering of villainy in Blackwater?
Very similar. I thought the switch, so to speak, from I think the original guy, when they were originally setting up to be I'm not sure bad guy is the right word, but that was Ferris, I think. And then it didn't just switch, like you said, he got a bullet between the eyes, and then the other, and I don't remember the other villain's last name, but the Ferris was good and the main villain was good. Some of the guys that I think essentially were mercenaries, like you said, running the prison part were pretty entertaining. Again, maybe pushed the line closer to chewing scenery a couple of times, but I never, to me, got over the top or ridiculous or anything. So yeah, I really enjoyed the bad guys in this one too.
Good memory on you. Ferris was played by Patrick Kilpatrick, who I believe is the Sandman, and the other guy's name was Rhodes.
Okay, right.
So Rhodes was the guy who we kind of liked at the beginning, but we all know how these things go.
Right, yeah, exactly. No surprise that he betrayed him. I was a little surprised that it happened as early as it did, and he just smoked Ferris like it was not. They were not together.
No, it was like Patrick Kilpatrick was like, "All right, Van Damme, we're buddies from Death Warrant. I can give you 2 days tops on this. I got a lot going on," and he was like, "I'll take it," and that's what happened. But anyway. Let's go back and score them, Jason. 2005, The Mechanic, Villainy, 1 to 10.
I gave it a 7. I thought it was very solid. I get what Rob's saying, but like you, Jared, I really like that scene where he just went off on that guy. Really shows how mercurial he is and how he runs his business, and he is not a man to be trifled with.
Match game number 4. I also have it at a 7. Switching gears to Blackwater. What do you got, Jason?
I went with a 7 with this one as well. The villain was a little more complex. There was a wider range of thugs and goons. I liked his kind of slick charm, how he could kind of talk his way into and out of things. So 7 for that one as well.
I went a little lower, so Rob's guess of 5 match games is still safe. I have it at a 6. It's a little too spread out for me. I think what I'm going to remember from it when I think back is, oh yeah, the Sandman dude was in it, but he didn't last long. One of the guys on the sub CIA team that just kind of kills whoever is paying the most is played by Chris Van Damme, which is Jean-Claude's son, which I thought was neat.
I didn't know that.
That was kind of cool. But other than that, yeah, I'm going to land at a 6. I think it's a cut above a good made-for-TV movie, but I like Sasha a little better. But it's up to Rob who he liked better. He's got a sniper bolt.
It's going to Blackwater. Sorry, Jared. Not just the main bad guy, but that there was a lot more compelling henchmen, mercenaries and such.
Sure.
Blackwater. So got to go there.
Fair enough. That's the end of round 3.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
All right, that makes it my turn for round 4. Now we're getting into the good stuff, the spectacle. We're going to talk about the overall spectacle. How engaging is this film overall? We're talking about the stunts, the effects, the score, the cinematography, all that good stuff. And Jared, we'll kick it off with you this time. What do you think about the spectacle, the overall spectacle of The Mechanic?
Well, I think you mentioned early on, I think in round 1, that it had really nice scenery. Those new image locations that they own that he had to write stories around were nice. And I'm kind of a sucker for, Europe and stuff like that, since that's where we grew up. And I really enjoyed that. And then one of the things that I did kind of have as a minus, almost ended up being a plus, in that I felt like Lundgren was very caught up in that early 2000s editing techniques of the swooshy and the slow pans and all that. And at first I was like, especially when they have the big shootout, I know we'll get the action scene, but when they have the big shootout to rescue the girl from the club, I felt like that was very early 2000s action-y shot. And I thought, well, it's going to be one of those movies. But then he shifts gears and gives us a cool Western shootout at the end. So I'm like, okay, I got to give him props for variety. So I like the variety of the action. I like the scenery in the countryside. It was neat seeing him. I don't know if this is exactly spectacle-y, maybe story-y, but regardless, it was neat that they worked in the fact that he is a mechanic. Like, he had to keep fixing the car.
Yeah.
Get them to the safe houses. I was like, that's clever, because you called the movie The Mechanic. Because about halfway through, I was like, this dude has not fixed a single car. And they remembered to put that in. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, if he was called like the doctor or something, they'd get caught because they broken down on the side of the road.
The shoe salesman.
I'm the baker. All right. Rob, what are your thoughts?
It was similar, it was interesting. I've never crossed the Atlantic Ocean, but it's always nice when you get actual location shooting instead of looking like you're on one of the low budget stuff that's shot in California. They're always going to the same places. Hey, that's where Captain Kirk fought the Gorn. So it was interesting seeing places that I've never seen before, but sort of limited, I guess. And the thing you're saying about the production company making him set it in places that they were controlling makes sense. But I mean, it was nice. As far as overall spectacle, I don't recall anything great about the score or anything like that. But it was a nice looking movie. The best I can probably give it. And that's a positive, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's fine. And the thing that I really liked about it, and Jared kind of touched on it, was the variety of action. We kind of had the fight at the very beginning when his first revenge, and then we've got that fight in the apartment and a motorcycle chase, which is pretty good. And the club raid, it had kind of a different feel to it. And then, that final shootout at the end had a very Western vibe. So he had some very distinct flavors, which I appreciated. All right, Jared, let's talk about the spectacle for Blackwater.
For a movie that's in a submarine, it's not bad. Like, the action's good. I don't remember anything super memorable to steal from Rob of the score. It did its job. One sort of negative for me, and I won't put this in the deduction round, but on one hand, I kind of understand they're trying to film a movie, but on the other hand, I know I was Air Force and I know Jason was Army, but Jason, that has got to be the most spacious submarine I've ever seen. They had like walkways that you could fit 3 or 4 people through.
Spoiler alert when we come to deduction round.
Right.
I got some stuff to say.
I see Rob nodding his head a lot too. Yeah, you caught on to that, did you?
Yeah, I've got notes.
Okay. Yeah, so I get it. They're making an action movie out of there. And other than that, a lot of it was about as good as it could be for what they had to work with. But the other forms of spectacle, just the action scenes, which we'll get to, and how they handle their weapons and stuff like that, I thought that was all fine and fun. So you didn't have the Russian countryside like you had in the other one. But I think with the very limited scope of what they had to do, it was all right.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, we'll talk more about it when it comes to deduction round for me. Rob,
I see.
yeah. Rob, what are your thoughts?
You could definitely tell, I think y'all mentioned earlier that there were a few interior shot on the actual ship, and you can tell when those are. There's a couple of, there's some scenes in corridors where it's very cramped, but then like the interrogation set, those are some really high ceilings. I did not serve like you two fine gentlemen, but I was recruited. I know that I would not have been able to serve on an actual submarine because of my verticalness. And there was plenty of room for me in a couple of those rooms. It's not just that, you're noticing that that's real spacious, but some of those sets really look like sets, and as opposed to, feeling like a real place. But it was balanced by a few of those corridors where they clearly shot it on the actual ship. The early scene that you were talking about when she didn't actually die, that was shot at an actual hotel, apparently just outside of Mobile. I mean, so we got a little bit of that. But I had the same reaction you both did of some of those sets. Like this is the most spacious submarine in the fleet, apparently.
They had room to move in that. We'll leave it there. Jared, what are you going to give the score for the spectacle for Mechanik?
I think there's some homerism from my love of European countryside, but I'm going to give it a 7.
I believe this is match game number 5. 7 for me as well.
No more match games according to Rob. We'll see what happens.
I don't know. Let's go over to Blackwater. What'd you give that one?
Now, I don't plan on deducting anything from it, so I have it at a 6.
Okay, I went the other way. I gave it a 7 and planned on deducting. So we may have some unnecessary.
That makes Rob very happy because he's still sitting on that 5 guess.
Yep. And he's got a sniper bullet, so he's got to tell us where it's going.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of audible here because when we started recording, I thought I would give this one to Blackwater, but nope, I'm going to turn the other direction, and I'm actually going to give it to the Mechanik because there's some of the nice locations. I think that better environment than the sets that look like sets. So yeah, let's go with the Mechanik.
That's a wrap. Let's pass it back to Jared.
All right, let's get to round 5.
What do? We die.
Round 5 is best action scene. Action film face-off requires good action scenes, and not a lot of shortage. I mean, there's the Dolph Lundgren movies, man, and Van Damme. You're not gonna have a shortage of no dang action scenes. So let's get Jason to tell us which ones he thought were the standouts from the Mechanik. Let's start with that, Jason. What's your lineup got, and I am prepared to help you with names.
Thank you. Full disclosure to the listening folks, just coming in off a work trip, so I didn't have time to work these out. We're gonna do them. We're gonna do them live for you right here. Here we go.
Cooking up mechanic puns in my brain.
Blind fire on the movie and blind fire on the action scenes too.
All right. So the Mechanic, I have basically 4 action scenes. The revenge scene at the very beginning, when he has to go back to the apartment because he left the money there. That was funny. There was the club raid, and then the final shootout at the end. Those are kind of the big 4 that I caught. I was thinking the revenge one I could call Man on Fire.
The first one, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. For my mechanic pun, I'd say your car is no longer under warranty.
Right. I can fix that. Back at the apartment is, hey, turn off the light before you leave.
All right, maybe I'll try.
Got a better one? We'll leave it there.
No, okay. I was picking one up and I was like, damn it, no.
The club raid. I thought, here's your cover charge.
Yep, that's fine. You're doing good.
And the final shootout, how the Western Russia was won.
Heck yeah, I like it.
I just thought of that. That just came to me. That's what you get here, folks.
That's off the top of his head.
$1, man. $1.
Jason's action from Face Off. Genius. It's like a savant.
All right. So those are the 4 I had there. And then I also had 4 from Blackwater. And I might have missed 1 or 2. I mean, there was a lot more little ones that were kind of...
Yeah, it was more sort of a constantly rolling action movie, yeah.
So the first one was the hotel ambush. So I got it. I really thought this because when they took cover in that restaurant, I was like, did you see the price on those eggs Benedict?
So affordable.
It was ridiculous. Give me an order of those. Man, can't get that in 2024 prices. Then there was the escape when he finally busts out, makes his escape from which I thought was pretty cool how he got out of there.
My plan was to call every one of these submachine gun. But that's what I got for all of them.
Okay. Well, I got a good one for the final battle one that was in the...
all right. So when he escapes, we'll...
Van Damme, he escaped.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so then there was the control room fight. They had to break in and then get to the control room and trying to get the key and everything. What do we want to call that one?
Submachine gun.
Submachine gun. All right. We can do it for that one because in the last one, the final battle, I called that one Take Me to Periscope Death.
All right. You did good. All right. Let's double back. What was your favorite action scene from The Mechanic, Jason?
I almost hate to say it because you panned it, and you're right. It was like early 2000s action, but I like that club. I like that club raid.
I didn't say I wasn't going to pick it.
Okay. All right. The club raid was my favorite. I like the team going in, laying down that fire. We got some good fist fights. We got some good gun fights. We got a good little chase afterwards. I thought that was cool.
What about you, Rob? Favorite action scene?
I think I got to go with the club scene as well. The final battle, like we talked about, was a little, it was obviously an homage to Western, but kind of a little too long. And
I made some cheese and crackers like halfway through.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That one of you mentioned earlier, there were some pacing problems in this movie. And when I'm getting a little, when I'm yawning during your final gunfight, maybe you should have edited that a little tighter. So yeah. But
I don't know if I need to see that one guy whose name I didn't even know crawling through the hay underneath.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so no, I'm going to go with the club scene as well.
I'm very tempted to go with the opening revenge scene. But
he did look baller in his uniform. And everything.
Did the uniform. Like if it was just a little longer, I think I would have liked it, but I'll go with club scene as well. I think we're 3 for 3 on that.
Oh, all right.
And
so here's my cover charge. That's what we got.
Here's my cover, or submachine gun, as I call it. All right, let's go to, speaking of which, let's go to Blackwater. Rob, I'll let you go the first this time. What was your favorite action scene in Blackwater?
Oh, man. It was tough because, like you said, this one was just...
It just keeps going.
It didn't... Yeah. There was not like one real standout. Of the 4, I'm probably going to go with his escape from the interrogation stuff. That was a pretty great scene. And this one, on the opposite end of the spectrum, this one was really well paced. And so, the whole movie was. But the action scenes were cut together really well. But I think that was probably my favorite one.
I should caveat this with the final battle. I included that when Van Damme and Lundgren fought together with Cassie and they were hand to hand with those folks before they go into the control room.
Okay.
I was lumping that in there too.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm still going to go with that. I think I'll still go with the escape from the interrogation.
Okay. That's a good one.
What about you, Jason?
I'm going with that final battle. I really like Lundgren and Van Damme fighting side by side. Yeah, take me to Periscope Death. That was my favorite.
I don't know if I'm taking more than one action scene, but anything that happened once Dolph Lundgren was out of his cell is what, I'm picking. So I think I'm pretty much in agreement with Jason. But like Rob said, and we all alluded to, it's like Die Hard. It just keeps going. It's like Die Hard if Bruce Willis like opened one of the broom closets in Nakatomi Towers and Chuck Norris was in there. He's like, come fight with me, Chuck. All right, sure.
Anyway, for 13 minutes.
Now I want to see that movie. Anyways, let's score them. Jason, Mechanic 2005. We all like the club scene, 1 to 10.
Gave it a 7, well above average. I mean, I've seen better, but I've seen a lot worse.
Bad news for Rob, because that is now 6 match games. And by the way, we have matched every single time in the Mechanic. Okay, Jason, going to Blackwater. We both like the final scene, 1 to 10.
I gave that one a 7 as well. If I had a little bit more Dolph, I probably would have bumped it up to an 8, but 7 for me.
Match game number 7. I also have it at a 7. Anyway, going to Rob, which movie do you think had better action scenes? I think I know, but I need to put it in the books.
It's Blackwater. Comparing it, even though I didn't choose the scene, but when you're talking about comparing the two final battles, I mean, the pacing in the Blackwater was just worlds better than the pacing in the Mechanic. So it was, it was tight, bang, bang, bang. There was no slowdown. I did not yawn during that sequence. So yeah, Blackwater gets the bullet.
That is the end of round 5.
I'm gonna kill you now!
Well, you know what time it is, Jared. It's time to bring the show down a little bit. Let's talk some negatives. The deduction round, take up to 10 points off of either film. You taking any points off of either of these movies? And if so, why?
I aired my grievance. The biggest one was the most spacious submarine of all time. As the guys who take their military authenticity seriously, we had to address that. I took it out on the score. I have a feeling you've got a -1 coming. But aside from that, I just can't. My 1980s action film heart can't take anything away from these movies. They're 80s movies made post 2000, and they're wonderful, and they evoke a feeling in me that just makes me happy. So no, I got nothing to take off. I look forward to your deduction, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just can't overlook it. It was so egregious when they flooded the ship and those pipes were like 8 feet overhead.
It was like, let me reach up here to close this valve.
And dude, like,
can you give me a step ladder?
Did you see the size of the cell he was in? Like, we've been in military housing that was smaller than that.
Have a breakdance competition in there.
I mean, come on, man.
I need a piece of cardboard.
Well,
breakdance.
I seriously, when the movie opens with him in the cell, and I thought this took place on a submarine, but he can't be on a submarine here, and he was, and it just kind of went downhill from there. So, and I know that, it's like, well, suspension of disbelief, but we've had good action scenes on submarines. I'm thinking World Is Not Enough. U-571 had some pretty good action scenes. So if you're going to put it on a submarine, let's put a little thought, a little effort here. If you wanted it just to be underwater, have something like the Abyss or some sort of prison that's built underwater. Anyway, long-winded way of me saying -1.
I understand. Yeah, I think there's a missed opportunity there because I always find when they do the martial arts stuff, think about the last Mission Impossible movie in the very narrow alleyway when they choreograph in tight spaces like that. There was a really good one in Unleashed with Jet Li where he fought a guy in like a bathroom stall. When they choreograph that tight stuff, there's a real opportunity there, and I think they missed it.
Yep, I agree. Rob, before we move on, did you have any grievances at all?
I guess so. I kind of graded both of these on a curve. If either one of them had been huge budget theatrical releases and I'd paid, $12 for a ticket, I might be a little more critical, but
we're both Prime members, so we saw it for free.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All it cost me was about 3 hours between the two movies. So, nah, I mean, they were both fine. And in fact, in the case of Blackwater, I mean, that was a legitimately good movie. I'd watch it again. And The Mechanic was not, it was not terrible. One of them edged out the other, but from the standard of your made-for-TV movie standard, they both cleared the bar.
Well said. Well said. Well, I think that's all the numbers, Jared. Now we just got to do math. So I'll be back in 30, 40 minutes. You carry the 1, divide by 2.
That is the end of our official rounds. Now, don't you worry if you haven't been keeping up with the math at home, folks. We do that for you at Action Film Face Off. And taking a quick check-in with Match Game. Jason and I matched 7 times on this episode. So if you guess 7, you are the winner. And let's check in on those sniper bullets. Rob ended up giving 3 of his 5 points to Blackwater and 2 to the Mechanic. And I'm going to tell you guys, he predicted earlier that his bullets were going to have some influence. And man, this is a close one. But looking at the judges' scorecards, the winner of this episode of Action Film Face Off with a score of 72-71 is the Mechanic.
Wow.
I didn't see that coming.
Holy cow, that was tight. And I'll tell you, when I walked in, I didn't know which one was going to win. But, well, congratulations to Mechanic, I guess. And guess what, folks? 2 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Well, we're going to head over to that randomizer. And what we're going to do is we're going to find out what the years are going to be for the next episode. But the next episode is not going to be Action Film Face Off. No, no, no. It's time for Horror Film Face Off. And my brother Jared will be pulling a film from
Choose Your Destiny.
1995. And I will bring a film from
Choose Your Destiny.
2007. And what will those films be? Well, we'll tease them on social media for those of you who want to watch before listening. Dave, we know you like to do that. Or you can tune in next episode, come in cold, and just find out. Until then, I'm Jason Weasel Skull Albrecht, and you can find me on social media at Jason Albrecht on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.
You can find me, Jared Albrecht, the Yard Sale Artist, a.k.a. Death Probe, at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And check out my new website, www.ican'tbelievthemechanicdefeatedblackwater.com. I'm still double checking the math. I like them both. Whatever. Anyways, Rob, where can people find you? Are you going to subscribe to my website? I can't believe the Mechanic defeated Blackwater.
I'm starting my new website, Justice for Blackwater. Find me on pretty much all the social medias at RobAU94.
Thank you, sir. I entreat you all to check out all of the shows under the Longbox Crusade umbrella by subscribing to Longbox Crusade on any of your finer podcatchers and some of the sketchier ones. We're also on YouTube and we're on all the places. You can go direct to longboxcrusade.com. If you like to send us a question or a comment, you can do that by hitting us in a couple different places. Of course, we're Longbox Crusade on the social medias and the YouTube. But if you want to get a little more targeted, we also have a X account that's at AFFO Podcast, and you can do that as well. Or speaking of the 80s, leave us a voicemail, 707-532-5269. That's 707-532-Hellbox.
Pick up the phone.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you listening. Until next episode, keep your head down
and your knuckles up.
The intro and outro theme to this show and all of our Action Film Face-Off shows are done by musical genius Joe November. Check out his SoundCloud at JOSEFLIN99. You will not regret it.